This is Providence Television International, the game changer. Stand by for the next program.
This actually being the next program is the interview segment on the Morning Drive, Providence Television International. My name is Ugbebo Ikikwa, and we'll be in the studio is Dr. Emmanuel Egariba. You're welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. Nice to see you again. It's a happy day, and I guess we all are going to be quite excited.
And so we'll delve straight to the topic of the day, rejuvenating Nigeria's power sector, the way forward. First of all, how did the whole thing go wrong? Because way back in time, we had a stable power sector. But all of a sudden, you don't think anything as regards power in this country anymore. Where did it all go wrong?
The question to ask is it jinxed?
Okay.
Yes, I mean, obviously, a lot of successive governments actually in this country have tried to deal with the power sector problem. That's why people are saying it's jinxed. What is the real solution to the problem? Right from time, dating back to maybe over 20 years ago, we've had this problem. Even the nomenclature, as if that was going to help. We've had NEPA, we've had the PHCN, we've had the distribution company. We've had all kinds of names. That has not helped, okay? And I think the problem mainly is lack of willpower on the side of government. And you begin to ask yourself, smaller countries in Africa, they are giving their people 24/7 for electricity. Nigeria is endowed. We have so many dams in this country. And I'll tell you, the system is such that we have hydro stations on water, operating with water. We have thermal stations, gas, right. We used to have some in those days on coal, where again, thermal heat, all right? But we have a lot now. I mean, there are so many dams in this country. If I'm not mistaken, we must have over 10 dams supplying to the national grid, for example. And we have thermal. Ughelli, for instance, is thermal, all right? And all to no avail. All to no avail. And that's why I'm saying that maybe somewhere this whole situation is jinxed. Okay? But look at it. I said it well during the previous program that it was planlessness that may have caused this. Because at the end of the Civil War, something should have told our leaders that we're going to have more consumption of electricity. There was rehabilitation after the Civil War. People were beginning to build houses. People were going to have manufacturing companies. That would have created upsurge in electricity supply. We're not prepared for it.
Okay.
Yes, we're not. And we're still going to use the same old equipment from ECN. It's the acronym for Electricity Corporation of Nigeria, which we inherited from the British probably. But that created hiccups, obviously. It created a lot of hiccups. We're not prepared for the exponential growth of consumers in this country. And we are still reeling with that till today. Nigeria's population is increasing by the minute. We're talking about over 200 million people. Even kids, they have handsets powered by electricity and all that. When you want to charge your handset, it's electricity you use. I'm not even talking of the number of television sets, the number of refrigerators, all sorts of appliances that people have. Well, you can't blame them. I mean, they want to enjoy the good life. But how much are we giving? I mean, in terms of electricity supply.
Okay.
Right. And some people, even the experts, have said that there's a lot of electricity theft. So they say a lot of people still bypass and do all sorts of things to shortchange the system. Yes, that's true. But what of the supply?
Okay.
From the point of generation, all right, to distribution, what goes on there? And we have been told over time that these things has even become political. Some areas have more, some areas have less. Look at Lagos, for instance. I mean, in Lukpeju, the industrial estate alone, you know how much they consume there. So they are saying that power should go to where it is needed the most for manufacturing. That is why manufacturers are crying every day. I mean, in some places up north, they have electricity. Yes. Even, I mean, obviously, we know this now because statistics have shown that, yes, these things really do happen. Some parts are disadvantaged by way of electricity supply, and that's why they ascribe it to politics and all of that. And I don't think that is what we need in this country. There's no reason why we should not get up to 15 megawatts. We are still talking about 4 or 5 in this country of 200 million people. And the way forward, I must tell you, is to have nuclear reactors. You know, not just thermal stations and all of that. We can go the way of Western countries. We have the resources in this country. All right? Nuclear. Let's go nuclear. That way, even though it's expensive, we can do it. Nigeria has reached a point in time where we should begin to think more of that rather than thermal stations and all sort of things. And look at the pipeline. You are supplying gas to a station that is almost 500 kilometers away. There are damages along the way. Fire outbreaks. These things are not working. They're not working. You are piping gas from Escravos down to Lagos. Look at the distance. Between Escravos and Ughelli, one can understand, but not between Escravos and Lagos, down deep into the Atlantic. So these are some of the issues. I mean, I've done a lot of studies on this, and I believe that is the will on the side of government. And in any case, many people have even said jokingly that a lot of people who have businesses that have to do with generators will not want us to have regular power supply, which is a plausible reason, quite plausible reason. If a man high up in government is a representative of manufacturers of generators, why do you think that man would pray that Nigeria should have 24/7 of light, of electricity? That's one issue. And coupled with that, let us, I think I mentioned this yesterday, a couple of days ago, we should now begin to think more of alternative sources of power supply. Yes. And there are many. Solar power, for instance. Let us encourage our young people. That is a gold mine waiting to be tapped into. Yes. You can. A lot of young people now are not employed, but we can create an enabling environment for them to learn how to make solar panels. If you have solar panels that can take your environment, what are you going to do with NEPA? That puts less pressure on NEPA. Far less pressure than we presently have. That's one. Why can't we even try windmills?
Windmills at this time?
Why? You still have windmills in Holland. It's an alternative. I mean, for instance, in open space where you have farms and all sort of things, you have windmills. Why? It's a source of regular supply. We have it in some place in Canada. We have it in, till today, till tomorrow, we still have it in some place in Holland, in the Netherlands. So what are we talking about? All right. So these are alternative sources that will put less pressure on NEPA. The example I want to give is water. Nobody is talking about water board now. All over the country, nobody is talking. In fact, I think most of them have gone moribund. You don't talk about water board because everybody now has a borehole facility in its domain. And the big plus in that is that a lot of young people have learned the skills, how to drill. Yes, they will fabricate some of these things as long as they get water. There are some places in Benin, for instance, 100 feet, you're already in the water table, and you drill water for your local consumption. People don't have to go now to the streams. In years gone by, people used to die annually at Ikpoba River looking for water. Yes, little kids, they are going to fetch water and they get carried away. They drown and all sort of things. But today, those disasters are gone. And gone for good, because we now have, in a typical street, for instance, where you have about 15 houses, you can be sure that about 10 houses have boreholes. Yes. And some of those boreholes are powered by solar systems. Excuse me. So we must look at alternatives, and government must have the will. What is happening, for goodness sake? Why can't we have power? Is it that it's jinxed? And even the universities, I mentioned it the other day. Why do we have the faculties of engineering? Yes, electrical engineering for that matter. Yes, give them money, grants to do research. There is no reason why, particularly the big universities in this country, there's no reason why they cannot generate their own power. There's no reason. Yes, they can create endowments for them to do this. Alumni associations are there. When you remove all of this, you are reducing the pressure points on NEPA generally across the country. You know how much power is consumed within the university. You will be shocked. Ahmadu Bello, which is a town in itself, Ife is there, Benin is there. Nsukka is there. Big structures, big spaces that universities occupy. So we must encourage, and I don't know what these faculties are doing really. Honestly, I really do not know what they are doing. And that is what universities are set up for two things: learning, one, research.
Research, yes.
Yes. Where are the research programs for universities? Every year, I should imagine there's a breakthrough, particularly in science and technology. There must be one solid breakthrough from every university. But what do we find now? What do we find? No, nothing. There's no reason. Now, the universities are crying. University was shut down because of this power outage for quite some time. I mean, the lady there, Vice Chancellor Salami, Professor Salami, had no other choice but to close down the university because everything was in disarray. But it shouldn't be if we were following procedures and processes. Yes. And maybe we'll have a program on this sometime.
No, definitely.
What universities can do.
Yes.
The other day I talked about agriculture.
Agriculture, yes.
The Faculty of Agriculture at the University of Benin is just tucked away. The opposite, the Faculty of Law. Just tucked away. Whereas a department can be moved to a place like Okada, place like Ovia. Yes. Crop science, for example. Animal husbandry, which they study at the Faculty of Agriculture. All right. Aquaculture. These are the things now that are in the mix. Right. So there's no reason. The same thing for electricity. Let our universities do research into how to make these things work. We can't be depending on government all the time. No, I don't subscribe to that. But government itself must have the will. In fact, it's so shameful. All successive governments, right from Obasanjo, they've been talking about this power thing. Is it that we don't have the mental capacity to tackle it? Look at South Africa. Look at Ghana.
Exactly.
Look at the Republic of Benin. Yes, small units. They are doing it. Yes. Now, I'm not even talking about European countries. France, for instance, has they have nuclear reactors to power electricity in abundance.
And so you were mentioning these countries, these foreign countries. It brings me to my very next question. Just last week,
yes,
the national grid collapsed 3 times.
Within a week?
Not even a week, not 7 days, 5 days.
So?
From Monday to...
So 3 times?
3 times.
Yes.
And it now brings us to this question. Would it do well for the image of Nigeria to invite expatriates to manage our grid?
Well, there's no shame in it. Even though it's going to impinge on our national consciousness, there's no shame in it if we think that we have reached the end of the road. Because people need power. Nigeria needs power. Okay? Without power, you cannot talk about development. You cannot. I mean, it's like building castles in the air. How can you talk about development? Look, the first time I went to Europe in 1982, during the reign of Professor Ambrosali, yes, we went on some European tour with some football teams and all of that. I stayed more in Sweden. In Sweden, for instance, everything depends on electricity. Everything, because it's a cold environment. If you don't have electricity, you can't survive. Why? Because even your mattresses, your fireplace, electricity. Your mattresses, they have springs, just to keep everything warm. How do you, even in the malls, electricity everywhere. Don't people survive in Iceland? Iceland, an extremely cold and hostile environment, but people survive there, and they have electricity supply. Because if you don't, particularly in the Scandinavian countries, you cannot survive. Yes. And without electricity, you can't talk about industrialization. You cannot. How can you talk about industrialization when there's no power source? It's like we are daydreaming. So, and I said it some time ago, that for these our boys and girls to come back to this country, 4 things we must tackle. Yes. We must tackle security. Power comes next. Power. Food, security, and of course housing. All right. Once you have these 4 things, who is going abroad? Nobody. Those people who are abroad now, our boys and girls who are in Europe and elsewhere, they will rush back home once they know that these 4 things are on the table. Yes.
All right. And so I want to get a direct yes or no. Would you or your own advise that Nigeria should invite expatriates to manage our grid?
If we think that would be the best option in the present circumstance, why not? Okay. Expatriates are managing most of our facilities. Have they not been managing most of our facilities? So what are we talking about? Look at telecom, for instance.
Okay.
Just to give a typical example, expatriates are managing the telecom industry. Right, they're more in number. Right. There's no shame in it. The Chinese people, you'll find them all over the place. You'll find them all over the place in this country. Even though that doesn't quite tell well on us, but it's the best in the circumstance. If we must have better life. Even the rail system, mind you, the rail system in Europe is electricity. Yes. Trains, they run on electricity. Either on the surface or under in the tube. They run on electricity. That's to tell you how important power is. And we are joking with it. Because of lack of power, a lot of people are running out of this country. Because come to think of it, after I had this job, it has happened to me many times. In fact, uncountable times. After I had this job, I get home, there's no power. No power. And I begin to run around to put on the generator and all sorts of things. The stress alone. Nigerians are aging because of this. The stress is much. It's much. Either in your workplace or at home. When are we going to have some relief, for goodness sake? When? Now, look at it. People were thinking. We are still struggling with PMS. People are already talking about electric cars.
Yes.
Yes. In Europe, even in Brazil, they're already talking about that. Electric cars. Let's depend less on PMS. All right? Electricity is the issue.
With our present grid issue,
and billions have been spent. That's the most annoying aspect. Exactly. Billions upon billions. It has become a national sleaze.
One of the papers carried it this morning, although we didn't use that.
Yes.
That the grid had collapsed 105 times in 10 years.
I don't think they're even saying the truth. They're underplaying it. It must have been more than that. Look at it now. How many times within 1 week? Within a few days?
3 times.
3 times. And you know what that means? You know what it tells us? It means that the production sector collapsed.
Exactly.
That's what it means. They cannot access diesel easily. And then what they depend on? Nothing. So that's why I'm saying that we must up our game by the production of solar panels. The sun, and we are lucky. We are in the tropics, in fact, around the equator. The sun is always overhead. 24 months in a year. The sun is there. Yes, and we can tap from the resource. It's everlasting. There are some countries around the world, they see the sun only about 2 months in a whole year. I can give examples. Yes, only about 2 months in a year. And that is why you find that in some countries in Europe, when it is summertime, when it is really sunny, they almost go naked. You know, they tan their skin and all that. They almost go naked. Oh, this is sun, let us enjoy it. But here we are enjoying the sun, glorious sun. Glorious, magnificent sun that God has given us on a platter of gold. We cannot make use of it. No, we cannot. And the sun is a major resource for human survival. But look at what has happened. Solar panels must be a ready source. Let us tap into it. And it will create job opportunities for our young people. Yeah, they will learn. Nigerians are very quick to learn certain things. Look at your GSM, your handset. There are boys now, if you scatter everything, they will piece everything together. Yes. Where did they learn it from? Locally. They will piece everything together. Even some very expensive phones. And they are eking out a living from that. Solar panels can be mass-produced in this country. If you have a flat, for instance, you have some panels up there. Enjoy bulbs. Maybe it can power your, what do you call it now, your television set. And maybe, in any case, there are some refrigerators now that operate even with solar. You know, thank God for that. So that's an alternative source of power, which we must tap into in this country.
All right.
Because people say there's so much pressure. I don't believe so. There's so much pressure on NEPA. Well, they could be right. But at the same time, we must create a leeway for people to enjoy the good things of life. I mean, for heaven's sake, God did not put us in Nigeria by accident. Yes. Why are leaders making things so difficult for us? Why can't we have better life? Why can't we live a life that is meaningful? That's why our boys and girls are running away, because they cannot cope with the environment. The environment becomes more hostile by the day. More hostile. You don't have infrastructure by way of roads. There's no security. Power you don't get. Water, you have to have your own borehole. All right? Food you can't buy from the market. Nigeria is becoming more and more unlivable. That's why people are running away in droves. In droves, they are leaving this country. And it doesn't mean a hoot to our leaders. It doesn't mean anything to them. It doesn't. The danger in that is, I've said it repeatedly on this station, the danger is those people are the productive segment of the population. They are young people. And you can imagine a man of 60 something. What is left in him? His potentials are limited. But what of the young people between the ages of 25 and 40 or maybe 45? Yes, these are young people and they are living in droves. They don't want to come back because the environment is hostile, very hostile.
Well, we're actually getting signals from the MCR. We are actually eating into the time of another program. I know, as usual, it is always a wonderful segment with Dr. Emmanuel Egariva. We could go on and on and on. But then, that does not mean that we are not going to still have other programs where Dr. Emmanuel will shed light on some very topical issues. And just to promo, coming up tomorrow in the afternoon, on Thoughts and Visions of Dr. Emmanuel Egariva, we'll be looking at the responsibility of graduates or undergraduates in special departments of our universities. And I know he's actually ready to discuss that topic. But that's the program. And so, like I would always say on the program, we're always out there to give you the best. But Dr. Emmanuel would always have a parting shot for us.
Well, not really. I mean, but if you ask me, yes, just one or two things. The election tribunal in Edo State will soon start work. When they start, let us see it to be a seamless operation. Seamless in the sense that there must be justice, okay? And the judiciary must be on top of the game, all right? Never mind what the politicians are doing, but the judiciary must relaunder its own image. This is one of those processes. And I believe that, yes, why not? They can do it if they are willing to do it. Thank you.
All right, on this note, I will say thank you so much for staying tuned. Don't go away as we have so much lined up for your viewing pleasure.